So, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Well, to be fair, most of you have been probably watching this trying to learn how to live with an EV. But, end of series, time to actually review the car I've been driving all 10 days. The MG ZS EV. Not bad, is it? Looks good. Looks like its petrol counterpart, which is actually one thing. No one can tell you're driving an EV, so you sort of blend in with the crowd. You don't really want to stand out sometimes. The styling is quite generic. It's seen on other models with the big gaping grille, the slanted headlights. But I actually quite like it. It's quite sharp, quite focused, and again, looks like your standard car. Now, under the bonnet, you will find not an engine. Instead, there is a motor generator. Now, this is not the battery. There is a battery in here. That is your standard electric battery that you would find in any car. The motor generator actually connects to a battery just underneath the boot, and that battery is a 44 kilowatt battery which produces around about 180 miles of range on a full charge. A full charge taking around 7 hours. A 30-minute charge will give you about 80% battery, which will get you about 150 odd miles. Quite a lot of space under the bonnet, something to get used to, but the battery itself doesn't actually compromise the rear loading space, and we'll go and have a look at that. Now, again, round the back, the styling is rather generic. You've got the angled rear lights, all LED. You've got no exhaust pipe, kind of obvious because it's an EV. But you do also have quite an ample boot space. Now, the MG ZS EV sits in the small SUV segment, which means you get plenty of room in the back. 470 litres, in fact, with the seats up. With the seats down, that's even more, obviously. Now, because the batteries are actually underneath the boot here, you do get a step when you put the seats down. So if you want to lie anything flat, you'll need to bear that in mind. Now, again, the stepped floor also gives another recess. Under here, you've got your charging cable, you've got your home adapter if you want to plug into a 3-point plug, and you've got your standard compressor and can of run flat if you need it. Although if you get a blowout on the motorway, I always prefer a spare wheel. But again, from the back, it doesn't look too bad. On the inside, well, let's have a look. Inside, the MG ZS is exactly the same pretty much as its petrol counterpart, and for a car of its price, now I'm going to come on to that later because I mentioned originally this is game changing. Stay tuned, it is. For a car of its price, it's very well spec'd. You've got an 8-inch touchscreen, you've got soft plastics, bit scratchy on the door, but never mind, harder wearing. You've got all your controls nice and neat and laid out. You've got your steering wheel controls as well. The steering wheel adjusts for height, but not reach, which is a bit disappointing, but is again similar in other models of this size. All in all, it's a nice place to sit. It doesn't feel cheap. It feels quite premium, quite nice, quite simple, and I like this. It's comfortable. The leather seats are good. The storage is good. My only gripe is the location of the USBs, which is down here. There is a little hole that you can pull a wire through, but the rubber mat keeps coming up, as you'll see. But other than that, everything's within reach, touchable. The dials are fantastic. You've got a power gauge, you've got a big screen in the middle, and you've got your speedo on the left. I'd rather those swapped around, but that's just personal preference. What we'll do now is we will take it for a drive and we'll see how it goes on the road. Can you hear me? Well, probably not, to be fair, because although the EV aspects of the MG ZS EV means that you've got no engine noise, and that takes some getting used to, it's a bit more unrefined compared to some of its electric vehicle rivals. There's a lot of road noise from the tyres and wind noise as well, and that's kind of expected really because it's an SUV, it's not exactly aerodynamic, like throwing a house brick through the air. You're not exactly going to get fantastic wind resistance on that one. But that aside, I mean, you lose some of the refinement you get from driving an electric vehicle when doing that, but aside from that, it's quite comfortable. With the batteries in the boot, you'd expect the rear of the car to be heavier, and it does affect the suspension slightly. There is a bit more travel. It is a bit stiffer and a bit bouncier. And the car does seem to roll a little bit in the corners as well, as you can probably see. I'm now looking like I'm driving a boat. But it's really comfortable to drive. You don't really notice as much of the suspension bounces. The steering itself is nice and light and easy. A little bit of a wobble there, and it's absolutely fine. And the car feels planted, it feels stable. I can do anything with this. I can chuck it around the corner, it would lean, but I do have some confidence in it. And there's an example of the bumps. Now, another thing I like, and this is something that's coming through with all cars now, is the blind spot alerts in the wing mirrors. And I feel the MGs are quite discreet. They're not shouting in your face there's a car next to you, but they're just gently saying, watch out. And they also flash a bit more if you're indicating that direction and there's a car there, just to really get your attention. I've noticed that a few times on the motorways, although I do always check my blind spots anyway, so just to point that one out. So the MG ZS EV comes with 3 power modes: Eco, Normal and Sport. I'm now in Sport. Whoa, there we go. There you go. That pulled away. I'm now doing 40 miles an hour just like that. That was fun. Just pop it back into normal mode for a bit. What you've also got is 3 levels of KERS: light, medium and heavy. I'm in heavy mode, and as you'll see, the engine brakes quite a lot there to try and recover as much power into the battery as possible. It's not going to recharge your system completely, but it is going to give you a little bit of a boost going forward. Overall, it's a nice drive. I like the car. I like the comfort. I like the interior. It's a nice place to be. And I can get used to the noise. I mean, I drive a diesel most of the time, so it's still quieter than that. I'm losing 50% of the engine noise. Overall, pretty good. Now, I said that the MG ZS EV is a game changer, and in my book, it is. That's because this car cost £21,995 as a base model. That includes the government's £3,000 EV grant. Now, that is £10,000 more than the petrol version, but crucially, it's around £6,000 cheaper than a Nissan Leaf. Now, a Nissan Leaf is around about the Fiesta size. With this, you're looking at a Nissan Juke, a popular mini SUV, and the price of this electric version is actually comparable with the petrol version of that car. Electric vehicles aren't cheap at the moment. The cost of batteries and extra shipping and different manufacturing methods pushes that price up. But 22 grand for a mini SUV that does 180 miles on a full charge, can recharge in 7 hours. It'd be great if it did do 7 minutes, I must admit. And it's comparable with the price of one of the most popular mini SUVs in the market. That changes things. That brings it into an affordability range for a lot of people. So it's worth considering. And all in, I like this car. It's got a few niggles. I mentioned the wind noise, the road noise. But ultimately, it's refined, it's comfortable, it's cheap for what it is, but you don't feel like it's cheap. So, would I recommend this car? Well, yes, I would. It's an electric vehicle for the masses. Own one of these, you can quite easily get around town, do your odd long journey, not a problem at all.